Today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi. We begin with the front pages of the papers this morning, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with NBS reports. Families spend more as inflation persists. The writer says records a 3.3% rise in quarter two 2023. Families shifted towards recurrent rather than savings investment. And that's coming from XCIS boss. It is induced by base effect. That's from Wyoming Capital. Fiscal stimulus might have played a role. ID Africa. GDP by expenditure grows 2.31%. Economy drifting under APC's watch. That's come from Labour Party. APC government remains committed to tackling poverty. A party leader. Nigerians getting a poorer, hungry while federal government borrows to fund luxuries. And that's come from Articles Aid. You can see a photo story showing winners emerged at Zenith Bank's tech fair. On page 8, Northern elders expressed concern over conduct of judiciary. On page 32, Kano, Yoruba community begs Tinubu, Obasanjo to intervene in political crisis. Stories above. On page 42, we have roadmap to tackle challenges in educational sector, and that's come from Tinubu. Nasarawa appeal court reverses sack of Governor Sule. Boko Haram, federal government probes prison warders, alleges connivance with terrorists. And that's all you can take. Let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with state FCTO federal government a 1.72 trillion naira budget support cash. Rider says the subnationals to pay back of 49 billion naira each. Program terminated. We can see a quote. It says, and I read. The decision to discontinue the budget support loan program was reached after careful consideration of the current economic realities and the need to ensure fiscal prudence. End of quote. And on page 6, Tinubu to decide on Minister Lalong's Senate seat. Ex-governor picks a certificate of return. AFDB's $1 billion boost to create 500,000 jobs in agri sector. Special processing zones for 7 states and FCT. Stories above. Appeal court voids the tribunal verdict sacking Sule. A PDP governor confident Lawa move to Angu get justice. Last month, GM Oriagba removed in shake-up. MPA Nimasa Niwa signs a performance bond with minister. We take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with high OPEX, harsh environment, hobble, industrial revival jobs. And we can see the big story on pages 4 and 5. Nigeria ranks 144 out of 163 in safest country ranking for 2023. Military deactivate 50 illegal oil refining sites, arrest 51 suspects. Israel Hamas war, death toll of Palestinians 14,200, says Ambassador. Reps panel probe a 62 billion naira HIV AIDS intervention fund. Nigeria loses $10 billion yearly to imported welders. That's coming from the minister. Jega Babachir orders reflect on INEC 2023 election amidst a fresh appeal court verdict. And that's how we can take on the Guardian. Let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with NMPCL ends a few imports December 2024, projects a 4.5 trillion naira revenue. The writer says a few importation shipping costs, the port levies will stop, says NMPCL boss. Kyari insists on December deadline for Port Harcourt refinery repairs. Speaker demands a privatization. You can see a photo story showing the NAF decorates a 12 combat pilot, vows tough time for terrorists. Ondo police arrest a housemate's son over killing of boss. You can see that on page 5. Cash crunch worsens. The food spending drops by 3 trillion naira. You can see that on page 34. Johnson, Oshun Capital on collision costs over anti-CJ protest. Stories above. Federal government states a plan 18 million agri jobs, $1.5 billion funds. You can read that on page 3. Government to fish out of prison warders aiding a Boko Haram. Tinubu has sent a bill on local military equipment production. That's all we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And if you're just joining still today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi. And joining me to talk about some of the stories we have on the pages, our correspondent, Omeza Ajayi. He's going to be telling us more on the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubumi Ojo, ordering a probe into allegation of connivance between prison warders and terror inmates to finance the operation of some terrorist group in some part of the country. Omisa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, go ahead with that report, please.
Well, you recall that on Tuesday, the Chief of Defense Staff had appeared before a committee of the House of Representatives, and among the things he said, there was something profound. One profound statement he made, a revelation that some Boko Haram elements had been conniving with officials of the Nigeria Correctional Service, that's some custodial officers, the ones we popularly call prison warders, in carrying out terrorist operations or in sourcing for funds for them. So the Minister of Interior didn't take that line low. Once he got the report, he ordered an investigation that the CG of the service should fish out those, should investigate the allegation and fish out any erring officer who might have been conniving with terrorists. Don't forget that some of these terrorists, some of them were arrested before now. They were charged to court. Some have been convicted, and you have those who are waiting trial. So both those who have been convicted are in the custodial facilities. Those who also are waiting trial are also in the custodial facilities. And so every day they have interface with the prison warders, that is the custodial officers. So because that is the way, of course, they are the ones who take care of the facilities. But you will also recall that under the former President Goodluck Jonathan, there was an allegation that the terrorists have infiltrated some of these security agencies. So when the CBS made that allegation, a lot of people, it was just like a confirmation of what some people had always alleged before, that even among the security, within the security circles, you have some elements who are working with these people because it's a religious ideology. Definitely you have some who also share in those kind of extremist, who also share those kind of extremist religious views. So that is the allegation. What we are waiting for now is the report from the CGC, that is the Controller General of Corrections, as to what he has been able to unearth regarding this allegation.
Mm. All right. He also mentioned that the federal government was working to ensure an upward review of salaries of paramilitary personnel, and you recalled also that at the beginning of this week, one of the reports that we had was that General Christopher Musa was saying that the military was underfunded. Can you tell us more?
Regarding the upward review of salaries of paramilitary personnel, that has been long in coming. I think sometime in August or September, the Minister of Interior also said something along that line. And what he said yesterday was that the ministry is currently working with the Salaries and Wages Commission to clear out or to dot the T's and the I's, and that very soon there will be an upward review. He made this advocacy because you recall that before President Buhari left office, he had increased the salary of the Nigerian police force, but their paramilitary counterparts, their salaries were not increased. And so when this minister came on board, he felt that no, they are virtually doing the same thing. They have the same peculiarities, the same job hazards. So there will be need to enhance motivation. There will be need to have a kind of upward review of their salaries. And of course, he also talked about having their own pension board, because the current pension system does not really is not really working well for them. So they want to have a pension board, like a paramilitary pension board. So apart from the upward review of salaries, that is the next thing that will be happening within the Ministry of Interior shortly.
All right, thank you so much, Miza, for that report.
You're welcome.
Moving on, we'll take a look at this story. NBS reports families spend more as inflation persists, and there are indications that the sustained inflationary pressures in the economy may have forced a reversal of the trend in household consumption expenditure. The figures, which have been going down since second quarter of 2022, reversed to uptrend in 2023. According to the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), the NBS yesterday said that the real household consumption expenditure grew year on year YOY by 3.3% in the second quarter of 2023 Q2 to 2023. The last growth was recorded in Q1 2022 when it rose 8.66%. In fourth quarter 2022, household consumption expenditure fell massively to minus 12.47%, and it further plunged by minus 24.95% in the first quarter of 2023. In its report entitled the Nigeria Gross Domestic Product Expenditure and Income Approach report for quarter one and quarter two 2023, the NBS stated household final consumption in real terms grew by minus 24.95% and 3.30% in quarter one and quarter two of 2023, respectively, on a year on year basis. The observed trend since 2020 indicates that real household consumption expenditure declined in quarter one and quarter two of 2020, accounting for negative growth rates informed by the pandemic. However, positive growth rates were recorded since quarter three 20 as recovery from the pandemic was witnessed, while growth became a negative from quarter two 2022 to quarter one 2023, occasioned by rising prices, the cash crunch witnessed earlier this year, as well as the current challenging economic conditions. Furthermore, growth in quarter two 2023 stood positive record at 3.3%, a departure from the negative trend recorded in the previous quarter. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, real household consumption expenditure decreased by 20.29% in quarter one 2023 and rose by 11.68% in quarter two of 2023. Household consumption accounted for 57.18% of real GDP at market prices in quarter one 2023 and 64.05% in quarter two 2023. All right, we'll take a look at our next story, and our next story is Yoruba community begs Tinubu Obasanjo to intervene in political crisis, and Yoruba residents in Kano under the aegis of concerned Yoruba community urged President Bola Tinubu not to allow Kano state-born. They also urged notable Yoruba leaders, including former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Ooni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, Ojaja II, Oba of Lagos, Alake of Egba, Awujale of Ijebuland, and Olubadan of Ibadan to prevent a political crisis in the state ahead of 2027. Secretary General of the community, Mr. Taufik Olaosebikon, who addressed the newsmen in Kano on the political crisis, said they were worried that the unfolding political situation would have adverse effects on Yorubas in Kano. Olasebikon said, for one, we know the political tradition here in Kano and the issues surrounding such positions. In the case of the last election cycle in Kano, we know how the elections went and the outright winners compared to the losers. And this is our major concern right now. It is some form of deja vu. We are very worried that the unfolding political situation will have adverse effect on us, the Yorubas in Kano. History is there to enlighten us better. Kano is a very volatile state politically, and this is the reason all men and women of goodwill should be concerned about the situation in Kano and rally round towards a collective initiative to save the state from any calamity which would affect us and our livelihood. All right, let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. before we go this morning. And Mrs. is speaking. She says, are you saying I cannot get anything I want from you at any time? And Mr. responds and says, I am only saying offered valid while stock lasts. I mean, this is what they tell us whenever we're trying to buy any product. So this is Mr. telling Mrs. that, valid while stock lasts. And this is where we draw the curtains today on the show. Remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. Find out today's stories. Go to our website, www.vanguardindia.com, to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi, and thank you for watching.